Throughout the 1970s, Iran operated as a heavily westernized autocracy. Bolstered by vast petroleum wealth, the ruling monarchy enforced rapid modernization, adopted Western aesthetics, and maintained a tight military alliance with the United States. By early 1979, that monarchy collapsed. Ayatollah Khomeini returned from exile to a massive public reception, stepping into the power vacuum. The events of 1979 dismantled the Western-aligned autocracy and replaced it with a constitutional theocracy. The entire architecture of the state, from its legal codes to its armed forces, was dismantled and rewritten. We are going to examine the institutional mechanics of this new Islamic Republic, specifically how its untested, highly complex framework survived a direct, kinetic confrontation with the United States military. The restructuring of Iran provides a precise blueprint for modern asymmetric statecraft, demonstrating how deliberate institutional engineering can insulate a newly formed regime against both internal military coups and external superpowers. The Pahlavi dynasty's absolute authority was secured decades earlier through a 1953 CIA-backed coup. This intervention established the Shah's foundational reliance on American and British intelligence to maintain domestic control. That coup systematically removed Prime Minister Mohammad Reza Shah Pahlavi, a popular leader who had nationalized Iran's petroleum industry. By ousting him to protect Western oil interests, foreign intelligence agencies seeded a deep, long-term resentment within the Iranian public. Shah Reza Pahlavi later attempted to force rapid modernization through what he called the White Revolution. This top-down imposition of Western culture and abrupt economic shifts created severe fractures across traditional Iranian society. To manage the resulting unrest, the state relied entirely on SAVAK. SAVAK was the Shah's secret police force, known for brutally suppressing opposition. Instead of silencing critics, this enforcement radicalized the public and united disparate political factions against the throne. An autocracy dependent on foreign backing and internal terror lacks flexibility. When the mass protests of 1978 and 1979 escalated, the Pahlavi state was too brittle to absorb the shock, causing the entire apparatus to shatter. To replace the monarchy, Khomeini instituted Velayat-e Faqih. This translates to the guardianship of the Islamic jurist, a legal and political system where religious authority supersedes all secular law. This diagram shows the resulting hierarchy. At the top sits the supreme leader, or Rakbar. In this framework, the supreme leader acts as the ultimate guardian of the state until the return of the hidden Imam Mahdi, an essential figure in Shia Islamic theology. Khomeini knew the regular army still harbored loyalists to the Shah. To prevent a counter-coup, he established the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC. As the diagram expands, you can see the IRGC forms a parallel military track reporting directly to the supreme leader, entirely bypassing the secular Ministry of Defense. Underneath the IRGC operates the Basij. The Basij is a voluntary paramilitary force integrated into local communities, providing a vast network of loyalists willing to fight and secure the regime without standard military compensation. By splitting the armed forces into a conventional army for the borders and the loyalist IRGC for internal security, the theocracy insulated itself against the traditional vulnerabilities that topple new governments. This chart shows the mechanical flow of Iran's electoral system. The public votes every 8 years to elect an 86-member Assembly of Experts. That assembly then holds the power to select or replace the supreme leader. However, a secondary structure controls the inputs to those elections. This node is the Guardian Council, an ideological filter composed of 6 theologians appointed by the supreme leader and 6 legal experts nominated by the judiciary. The Guardian Council possesses the absolute right to vet anyone running for office. They review every candidate for strict ideological conformity, discarding anyone deemed unfit before their name ever reaches a ballot. Citizens do cast votes and presidents are elected, but the Guardian Council ensures that only individuals entirely loyal to the system can compete. The state operates with the mechanical appearance of a republic while mathematically guaranteeing theocratic control. In late 1979, the United States allowed the exiled Shah Reza Pahlavi to enter New York for cancer treatment. In Tehran, this sparked immediate fears of another U.S.-orchestrated coup. On November 4th, massive crowds converged on the U.S. Embassy. Student revolutionaries breached the gates and overran the compound, capturing the diplomatic staff inside. 52 American diplomats were held captive. The revolutionaries paraded blindfolded hostages before the media, demanding the extradition of the Shah to face execution in exchange for their release. This standoff would ultimately last for 444 days. U.S. President Jimmy Carter refused the extradition demands. Instead, his administration froze $12 billion in Iranian assets held in foreign banks and imposed severe economic sanctions to strangle the new regime's finances. Holding the embassy staff neutralized America's conventional military advantages. The revolutionaries paralyzed Washington's political decision-making, extracting maximum leverage from a handful of captives. Facing an entrenched diplomatic gridlock and mounting domestic pressure, President Carter authorized a covert military rescue in April 1980. The mission was codenamed Operation Eagle Claw. The operation required an immense logistical footprint. The U.S. Navy positioned the USS Nimitz aircraft carrier in the Arabian Sea to serve as the remote launch platform for the rescue helicopters. The strike force consisted of 8 RH-53 Sea Stallion helicopters and 6 C-130 Hercules transport aircraft, carrying heavy fuel loads and Delta Force operators. This map shows the converging flight paths. The aircraft departed from separate locations to rendezvous in the middle of the Iranian desert at an unlit coordinate roughly 150 kilometers from Tehran. This staging area was designated Desert 1. Coordinating 14 distinct aircraft from multiple bases to meet in complete darkness inside hostile territory required exact synchronization. The sheer complexity of the plan left zero margin for mechanical or environmental errors. The friction began almost immediately after launch. One helicopter suffered a cracked rotor blade and was abandoned. A second experienced a severe hydraulic leak, stripping its flight controls and forcing it to turn back. The remaining helicopters then flew directly into a haboob, a massive, turbulent, and blinding wall of suspended sand and dust. The blinding conditions disoriented the pilots, forcing a third helicopter to abort its mission. This chart illustrates the mission's strict operational threshold. The rescue required a minimum of 6 functional helicopters to carry out the hostages and the assault team. With only 5 helicopters successfully reaching Desert 1, the commanders on the ground advised President Carter to abort the mission. As the units prepared to withdraw in the swirling dust of the desert, an RH-53 helicopter lifted off to reposition. Blinded by the sand blown up by its own rotors, it drifted and collided directly with a parked C-130 transport. The C-130 is a massive, heavily fueled aircraft. The impact instantly triggered a catastrophic explosion, engulfing both the plane and the helicopter in flames and killing 8 American servicemen inside. Panicked by the fire and the risk of incoming Iranian forces, the surviving assault team evacuated on the remaining transport planes. They left behind the burning wreckage, the bodies of the fallen, and 5 intact helicopters filled with classified documents. The world's most advanced military was repelled without a single shot fired by the Iranian army. The combination of geographic friction and over-engineered logistics handed the nascent Islamic Republic a monumental propaganda victory exactly when it needed it most. The visible failure in the desert crippled the Carter administration. The ongoing hostage crisis and the aborted rescue attempt heavily contributed to Jimmy Carter losing his re-election bid later that year. Iran maximized its political leverage right to the final minute. They officially released the 52 hostages on January 20, 1981, timing the release to occur just moments after Ronald Reagan concluded his inaugural address. In exchange for the hostages, the United States released the frozen $12 billion. The Iranian regime immediately channeled all that capital into reinforcing its military and stabilizing its newly engineered institutions. Surviving an assault by a superpower while restructuring the state proved the durability of Khomeini's design. The Guardian Council secured the political interior, while the IRGC successfully locked down the military apparatus. This diagram maps a structure built for endurance. By merging absolute religious guardianship with a loyal, parallel military network, the 1979 revolution engineered an asymmetric state model that continues to challenge Western influence across the Middle East.